Okay, in this tutorial we're going to make this stylized sky. It has this kind of YouTube compression might mess with it a little bit, but it has these kind of, let's see, these steps you can see where it has kind of a layered effect to the sky, and you can change them to whatever you want. And then you can also scale the actual sun texture, which you can change the texture to whatever stylized sun you want. You can change if you use the tinting of the sky itself or if you want some dynamic tinting there. And then you can also change if you want the sun to be a specific tint. You can do that if you want. And let's get started. And of course you can still control it just like any Unreal sky, where you do Control and then L and move it around. So it's a pretty nice system. It's drawn from a GDC talk. So we're going to make just a basic environment here. Yeah, we'll save that. And let's close this here. I'm going to drag this material over to the side, and we are going to make it from scratch. So the first thing, I'm actually going to get rid of the clouds. So the sky sphere, there's a material here, but we're going to make our own. So I have a folder here called Sun Tutorial. I'm just going to do this m_sun is what I'm going to call this one. And I'm going to make an instance, and I'm going to drag that into here. So you notice we can make this a bit smaller. So there we go. So you notice this is going to just be a dome, and it's going to have a material. So let's open up our sun material, which is right here. And then to start, it's just going to be an unlit material right there. And that will reduce the pins. And then Unreal has a function called sky atmosphere luminance right here. And if we plug this into emissive color, I'll show what it's kind of doing. This just basically just gives us our sky back. So if we turn this off, nothing happens other than the height fog is a bit different, which I'm actually going to delete. So with the height fog gone, this just does nothing because it's just displaying what the sky should be, but on our dome instead, which you can actually see right there. Okay, so with that being done, let's start working on the actual stylized part of this. An important thing to note here is in order to get all the nodes, this is Unreal Engine 5.1.1. Specifically, here I'll pull it up for you. There's a HVSV to RGB. This node only exists in 5.1. It doesn't exist in 5. But everything else should be able to work in the other versions of the engine. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually break this out. And then we're going to do break to float 3. And then we are going to make, just to, I'm going to add the lerp here. Oh, and then we're going to make like this. Okay. So what we're doing is we're breaking it to hue saturation value, and then we're bringing it back to this, and then we're going to do something in the middle here. So if we multiply this like this, and then we're going to round it, what we're trying to do is kind of create the stepping effect, which makes the sky look a lot more stylized. So then we're going to round and divide. Like this, and then blue will be the same. And then we want a value for the amount of steps, which will go into the same for both of these. So I'm just going to hold down S for a scalar value and then click, and we'll call this steps. And let's set that to like 9 to start. And this will go into both of these values. So just to let's do coordinates. I'm just going to mask. So this is just a gradient. So you notice if we feed this into here and start previewing, it breaks down the gradient into strips, is what this mask function does. Don't need that. Okay. So we're going to give a texture sample. We'll make this just a texture. And I have some sun textures. You can literally put in whatever you want. I'm actually going to grab like this instead, just to see, since this is a default engine, just so you can do what you want here. So sky, atmosphere, image. We want this to be here. Oh, this needs to be a texture object. So convert to, let's see. Texture object. Here we go. And we'll grab the same one here, which goes into this. And this will be texture. I think it wouldn't let us convert since it was already a parameter. So like normally a texture sample, you can convert to a texture object like that, but because it was already a parameter, that option wasn't available. So then sky, atmosphere, light direction is what we need into here. Light direction, which goes under direction, makes sense. And then we can go ahead and make a scalar for scale, sun scale more specifically. And we'll just make this 1 for now, see what that gives us. You can certainly mess with the rotation. I'm not doing that. Actually, let's do it. Sun rotation. We'll leave it at 0 for now. And then we need to multiply. I held down M, and we're going to multiply this one by this. And then we are going to multiply this alpha by this mask, because we actually want both of these. I can kind of show you here. Actually, let's do this. So we'll feed this alpha in here so I can show you what it's actually doing. So the alpha is just, we need to scale this thing down. 0.3. Okay, so see, the alpha is just the cutout of the texture, where the mask is a bit different than that, and I will show you what that is. The mask is only the section where the sun is. That is right there. So you notice the alpha tiles throughout the entire sky. So if you multiply the alpha by the mask, you get a masked tiling section like this. So that's the thing there. However, we want to actually put our texture there. So in order to do that, we are going to use this again, and we are going to multiply in, I'm going to throw in a tint. So I'll do V and then just tint. To start, we're just going to make it white so we don't affect it at all, which will be there. And then I'm going to go ahead and add components, which is going to be this here. We are then going to multiply this by the tint. And I'm going to, sometimes I don't want to use the tint, so I'm actually going to use what's called a switch. A static switch right here. And let's see, pool, static pool, which you can, is, let's see, static bool parameter is what we actually want. And we'll call this use textured color. So it's like, do we want to use just the, like the outline of the texture, which you would sometimes do, like that's what they do in the video, or do you actually want to use the color itself that's in the texture? So then we're going to hook this up here, and this will be the second part that goes into this lerp. And then we can apply this, and there we go. So now we have our sun with the texture. We can move it around. We can change the size and shape in the instance. Let me save everything. This is just our sun map right here. So let's mess it around. We can add some more steps or decrease the amount of steps. We can change the rotation of the sun, which is kind of fun. We can affect the scale of it. We can change the texture. So I have a few textures here. So let's see what this one looks like. That one's kind of interesting. And then we can adjust the tint. I think we might be able to adjust it past 1 as well. Yes, we can. So if we want it to be like super bright or almost glow, we can do that as well. So I was just trying to, I thought this was in the video of the GDC talk, there was a bunch of techniques, but I just wanted to outline this in its own video because I thought it was a really cool technique. And also there's the way they mask things off, it doesn't really work well with the texture. They just use it as kind of a mask. And I thought kind of addressing how to actually get the texture you want coming through in your sky could work in a material. You don't necessarily have to do it this way, but it seems like a good option.